Fucking roll, brother. I know it's impossible to get this guy on here, but hey,
I'm here, man.
He's fucking here
I am
now.
so here. And
He's
I'm
here. He's live.
I won't tap. I will not tap dance. Like
You can tap dance. You can play.
maybe like David Lee Roth and like and
if you want,
meets
No, seriously, man. I appreciate you doing it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's like I've been trying to get him here for about a year or so.
But I'm here, and I'm
touched base. Like I touched base, and he was like, "Yeah, man, it sounds great." And then I won't hear. Then 5 months go by. Hey, man, you want to be on the show? Yeah, it sounds great.
Let's do it.
Nothing.
Yeah, crickets. I'm trying it. But we're here now, so that's most important, right?
Yeah. So, buddy, again, thank you. And bottom line is, like, what is going on? What's your current project? I know you're teaching a lot. You're back home. You're flying to LA for some weekends and weeks. You're flying to New York. You're still doing stuff in multiple cities. Is Pittsburgh pretty much the base for you?
That's where I am right now. Yeah, and I'm going to be going back and forth from Los Angeles and Nashville, starting in 2023. I'm dipping my foot back into the Nationals. Part of the business. Like I want to start touring as a touring drummer.
So people are surprised. There's a lot of pop music that's actually produced in Nashville outside. It isn't all country down there, correct?
No, it's not. It's not rock and pop.
That's a misconception.
It's a misconception. It's crazy busy down there. There's when you go on Broadway, it's music from 10 in the morning till 2 in the morning or whatever, or till later than that.
Best guitar players in the world are pumping gas down there.
Exactly, that's the truth. That is true. And it's one of those things. Like there's so many great players down there. So LA's kind of got filtered out, where you just kind of listen. Of course, there's great players out there, but you're starting to see people they couldn't afford to live out there anymore since the pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, to get a 1-bedroom apartment in Santa Monica, it's $3,200 a month. It's insane. So
wow.
Luckily, I have some well-off friends out there that are in the business, and they're like, "Let's just stay out here for a while, man. Get your feet wet again." And I've been on the phone with a lot of my friends, like you're from Puddle of Mud, from Dave from Puddle of Mud, and then Matt from Puddle of Mud, and George Lynch. I played with Lynch Mob for a while, and back on the phone with John Waite. I'm just kind of getting back, calling these people saying I want to get back in the game. To let you know I'm going to be doing it again, and I'm going to be out in the area, and so I just start dipping my toe back in, and I'm excited. It's interesting. Things have changed drastically since I've been back living in LA. So we're going to find out.
Things have changed here or there?
What's changed there, I should say.
Oh, yeah.
Pittsburgh
and
everywhere it's changed, but
Pittsburgh never changes.
No, yeah. It just kind of gets to that point where, like, what's important? Do I want to thrive here, be the shark in the puddle, or do I want to be, the fish in the sea out there, a little tiny minnow? Because it is. I mean, I know people know who I am. I play with some certified national acts, but
no, don't.
It's just
it's a networking thing, right?
What's that?
It's a networking thing.
It's a networking thing, and so with social media, that's very helpful. And I've been, I was on the phone with Todd Kearns, who was in Slash's Snake Pit, and he's Slash's bass player, and he sings for Bruce Kulick. So,
yeah, he does for cool. I was just gonna say he does some stuff with Bruce.
Yeah, and I played with Bruce
just on the cruise, right?
Yes, they were on the cruise together. Yeah, and who's playing? And my buddy Zach Throne is playing bass for him.
Yep.
So Zach played with me every Friday, and it was every Sunday night in Huntington Beach. And Zach's with I think Corey Taylor right now, but he's out with and he's out with Ace too, with Matt Starr. So
right on.
This guy's, and so I'm really I kind of got some great connections still, and they've been I'm just excited that people are picking the phone up when I call them.
Right on.
And they call me back, Muck, what's up? What are you doing? Get back out here. And what's going on, man? I see your videos. So I'm pretty excited. I think that, I am.
LA's another world, ain't it?
It's another world. I lived there for 8 years straight. I lived in Huntington Beach. I got out of Hollywood because, some of the stuff becomes a little pretentious and a little too, too painted nails, and no one wants to scratch, chip their nails. Huntington Beach is where UFC fighters are. There's a bunch of animals.
It's a better time down there.
It's a better time down there. I don't have to go out and look like I can put flip flops on and walk out of my place and walk my dog and not look like I'm trying to be paparazzi.
Have you been out there since the pandemic?
Yeah.
It's weird out there now.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Strange, and that's why so many people moved. It's real weird.
What's your thoughts on the homeless problem out there?
It's terrible.
Is it getting bad?
It's
getting
worse.
I just
when people say it's not bad, it's bad. It's really sad. Do you think that this? And they're not handling it.
Yeah,
they got to handle it.
There's no game plan.
There's no game plan. San Francisco is even worse.
Was there ever really a real game plan though?
I don't even know. That's a great question. I think you're probably right when you say that.
I don't know.
I would say there probably is no. I think it's just they move them from one section to the next.
I think so. Now there's just so many though.
There's so many, and now people are like using generators and plugging into walls and doing their laundry on the streets and living in tents. Something's not right. So when you have people that want to go out there like me and say I'm going to go back out there and spend $3,000 a month to live on a 1-bedroom apartment. Where I could have 3 homes here for that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And I got people living in tents. It's really strange. It's a very strange dynamic.
I heard,
right?
What's the big beach? Venice Beach. I guess Venice Beach is very difficult right now.
It's difficult. It's always been bad. It's just, especially when you hit dusk there, the drugs and the homeless people are just bad. Yeah, and it's wonderful to be there in the daytime. It's awesome, But it's.
I heard even the daytime is tough down there now.
It's tough. But then again, though, it
isn't from the Venice Beach of the '80s.
Yeah. Woo!
I remember that.
Yeah. So the good old days. So it has gotten more dangerous. New York City's dangerous. It's really bad. It's
When's the last time you were in New York? Have you been back to New York since the pandemic?
Yep. Yes, I have.
So what's that like?
It's real strange. It's people are just even more standoffish than ever. Okay. So if you can believe that,
are they just as rude as ever?
They're rude as ever. And everyone got their masks on. It's strange, and I wear masks for I'm not scared. I'm not afraid of the pandemic. I'm not afraid of being sick, and I feel like I'm protected, and I have a better source, But I wear masks to avoid problems with people.
Sure.
Just out of respect.
Sure.
So I don't live in that fear.
Yeah.
I don't want to live in fear.
Yeah, right on.
So I just become I feel like I'm kind of the wall. I'm immune to it, and I just want to be myself.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to be cheery and happy, that's what I'm going to be. I don't want someone else to dictate my joy.
Your state.
Yeah, because recently that's been happening to me as we talked.
Yeah.
I don't want that anymore.
Got it.
And I'm a pretty happy person, and when I start being infiltrated with negative stuff,
yep.
As of late, I didn't know how bad that affects me. So,
well, musicians had it really bad during the pandemic.
Yeah.
You folks are one of the groups of people who your whole industry was shut down.
It was shut down,
completely shut down.
Blessed enough, for some reason, man. My 40 plus lessons I had, I lost maybe 5 or so.
That's it.
And I kept the virtual thing going for like 6 months.
So lessons stayed strong for you.
It stayed strong for me. And I was blessed. I didn't have to go and collect, unemployment, all that stuff.
Yeah,
I just did what I did, and I plowed through. It wasn't easy, but I had a lot going on with like my mom being sick, taking care, being the caregiver, living in with her, trying to take care of her.
Right.
So my head was up my butt. I was so knee deep into that, and her just passing last year. It was like there was 3 years of her just going downgrade, and having COVID twice with double pneumonia.
Wow.
Well, I was so involved with that that it didn't. I just had no time to really think. But as I went and gained all this weight and I lost it, so I'm feeling good now. It took. That pandemic was disparaging all the way around for everyone, but mostly musicians.
Yeah.
It really pummeled them. For some reason, the local dance band, they kind of kept working, man, and they did 2-hour shows, and he pulled me in about a little over 2 years ago. He's Ronnie from Dancing Queen. I just kept playing 2-3 days a week with him, and the money wasn't as good as it was, but it was money. I was still working, and everyone had to come with masks, and we kind of got past that. So
that had to be weird as shit, though.
It was weird, man. It was weird. And so we didn't have to wear masks on stage, but the crowd wore them, and you had to stand far away from the groups of tables. It was strange. I kind of forgot a lot about it. It was something I wanted to forget.
Yeah. No, yeah, 100%.
So yeah, in the midst of that, I was like, okay. So I was very thankful to keep working, and then I had, in the midst, I was writing an album for a band called Six Gun Sally, who's a regional band out of here, who's doing really well, man. They hit number 79 or 70 on the charts for Road Country.
Right on.
So me and Jeff Thurston and Dave Barber wrote all the songs, produced by me and Jeff Ford Thurston from Randy Houser's band. So that kind of kept me busy, and it was paying the bills, and the guy was able to keep me afloat, which was great, you know. And was able to keep my and I did some recordings. I was working with Scott Blasey from the Clarks.
Oh yeah.
So it was good. You know, I was able to keep working. I was very blessed compared to most people that were musicians.
Oh, the whole industry seemed like it was shut down.
So I'm not as it wasn't as bad for me. So thankfully, but it was.
Now let me ask you this: so you've been out playing since the pandemic, and I've been asking every entertainer that's been on here since, Matt. I've been asking them, hey, does it feel like we're back, or do you still see trepidation out when you look out to the crowd? Does it feel different, or is it
feels
kind
different.
of back?
It's just not what it was. The bands I was playing with, like I was playing with some local bands called the Clintones, and they were like we were selling places out. I went to the show last week, and there was maybe half full. You know, Dancing Queen, who I play with, a local band, that's been like voted the best cover band in Pittsburgh for the past 10 years.
Right.
Even that has dwindled, you know.
Is it coming back slowly?
It came back a little bit, but it's just a lot of. I think things run its course sometimes, you know. So, and I play with Bon Journey, so Bon Journey does pretty well still. There's like 5. Don't ask me. We own the rights to the name, by the way. So we are the original Bon Journey. I'm the original.
I've heard there was some consternation there.
I'm the original 5th drummer from Bon Journey. I'm the only one left. I'm the only one original left from before the pandemic, and I had to put like 8 different versions of the band back together because everyone just kept falling apart. But actually, we got a killer lineup now, so we'll be down at the Meadows on Saturday. So, but yeah, so I was able to keep busy, and then the studio work, just stuff coming in from like different like overseas. People would email me and say, "Hey, I want you to play drums on my stuff."
Can't beat that.
Yeah, so and some local guys and regional guys. So stuff out of Ohio, stuff out of Omaha, stuff out of Pittsburgh, stuff out of Berlin. So it was like even some stuff out of Nashville and LA that I was able to play on. So kept myself in the studio and kept afloat. And
yeah, right on.
So I want to say that was blessings from God. I can't really take credit for that.
Yeah.
So and I just gotta remember always stay humble, because that stuff you just be thankful, because I go in as much like, oh man, this sucks. I don't want to go tonight. Well, there's 20 guys that would just die to have your gig to make that $350 that evening. You know.
For sure.
So I have to remember that. So and so that's why I just think that I have a lot more in me. I have a lot more energy than what's going on here in town here. So that's why I'm putting my foot back out there and put my foot in the water of the national act stuff.
All right, let's talk about influences for you. Like when did you pick up your first drumstick?
Well, my cousin Alan, he was a drummer. He lived 3 doors up from me, and he still plays. He's amazing. He's my biggest influence. Wonderful person. I have a lot of drummers in the family, but he's an amazing drummer. He played in a cover band up the street from me, he and his brother, and they played out 5 nights a week. They played like the Holiday Inn circuit, the spare room circuit. They'd set up on a Monday and played Tuesday through Saturday, and that's what they did back in the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the first time I saw drums, man. And I'd walk up and I'd sit on his lap, and he'd hold my hands, and I'd be playing, keeping the beat with me. And so then I'd sit next to his floor time when I'd be rehearsing, and and my brother played as well. So, and my brother was a phenomenal drummer. So he's like 4 years older than me, and it was just always in me. It was like I was fascinated by it. So
now, what was the first music you were turned on to?
Well, it was like dance disco stuff. But
all right.
That's how I learned how to play.
You mean like the Bee Gees?
The Bee Gees,
Donna Summer.
Oh, Donna Summer, all that stuff. And Donna Summer's drummer lives out here. You know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So great guy. And so but when I first saw Kiss,
You're in the right place.
Yeah, right. Paul, when I first saw Kiss, my head almost popped off my body, and I was in like at a young 3 years old age. I was 3 years old. I was into horror movies. I was weird, man. I was into Dracula and all the weird. And I had vivid memories at 2 years old.
Damn.
I remember seeing Kiss on TV, and I take the Tupperwares, and I saw Peter Chris's drums were like this sparkle, and I had like this silver crayon, and then
You're trying to figure out what that was. Was it the Halloween special with Paul Lynn?
It's a Paul Lynn.
Yeah.
And it was Paul Lynn. It was
76.
Doing that was their best era. It was awesome. 76, 77. So cool.
Well, getting your argument out of me.
Yeah, and that was just amazing. And I saw that, and I saw him, and I saw Peter Criss on TV smashing his drum set, and my parents were like, that means Kids in Satan's Service. I'm like, sign me the F up. I'm going.
I got that bullshit too.
Yeah, I was like, let's go. And then Cat Scratch Fever, and then Van Halen.
Oh yeah, Van Halen won.
That was the game changer. I remember.
Was it Eddie or was it Alex?
It was Eddie.
It was Eddie.
Listen, so. It was both, because Alex is my favorite drummer. Alex, it's like John Bonham, Alex, Tommy Lee, and
That's
and Taylor
interesting.
Hawkins
Okay.
are my favorite rock drummers.
Okay.
And but I remember I was going to my brother's baseball game when I was about 5 years old, maybe just 5. My dad bought this Caprice Classic and had one speaker in the back and the passenger side, and my dad just bought the car, and we were going up to this baseball field up in Perrysville, right where we went to school, and it was the summertime. And I heard, you're listening to WDVE Rocks.
Sounds like Jimmy Roach's voice.
Yeah. Then, and I was like, and that guitar sound, dude, I got goosebumps right now. Man, the goosebumps up my neck.
It was visceral.
Dude, it was like I felt electricity through my body. Yeah. I was like, what the F is this? Like, so then I got my ear to the speaker, and I'm listening to this. I'm like, I couldn't get close enough to the speaker. And I'm hearing, running with the devil. I'm like, hold on, my parents are gonna kill me. My parents were born again. I was like, and that's what it was, man. That was when I said, that you just heard from Van Halen, and I was like, man.
Yeah, it was
and
something.
I remember that. And that was something that stuck with me, and that was something that was so dear to me.
It was a moment, huh? First time you heard
that.
that.
It was a moment. Yep. It was a lifetime, because it was.
It turned into a lifetime.
It was being there and just doing.
So that was what is that the song that pushed you into rock?
And pushed me into rock was Cat Scratch Fever.
Okay.
And Kiss,
again, the guitar, right? It was the
guitar.
It wasn't the
I
drum.
played drums. I was like this frustrated guitar player,
That's always the story.
It's always that. So I just loved the guitar, but then I couldn't believe what I heard. I was like, it was something. I mean, I couldn't imagine in 77, 78 when they came out, but people that were 17 years old hearing, what? What is this? So that blew my mind. That was it. Van Halen was it. And then, and always was it. It was always. And then, of course, I get into Rush and the Police.
Yeah.
And but I was always into Kiss and Van Halen.
So back up. You said, what are your top 5 drummers? Who are in terms of influential to you?
Okay. Well, I'd say as far as rock and roll drummers go, I'd say there'd be John Bonham. Ringo, John Bonham.
Ringo?
I love Ringo, man.
Ringo
just I didn't get it at first.
Okay.
And I understood like that feel. So it was because I didn't get it till I became a songwriter.
Okay.
I was like, this guy plays appropriately. So
appropriately. That's probably a good way of summing it up.
Yes, it was just, and I think I became a big fan of the Beatles. So I was like, wow, man. Like, I'll say it again. I became a big fan of the Beatles because I was a songwriter. I became a songwriter, and that wasn't until later on in life. But definitely, if I would say, okay, let's say rock and roll drummers.
Yeah, rock and roll drummers.
Okay, let's say John Bonham, Alex Van Halen, Tommy Lee, Taylor Hawkins, and who's the fifth one, man? That's a great question.
You kind of skipped the big one. Yeah, he got it. He's a big one, but not the big one. The big one. The big one.
Oh, Neil Peart.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So that's it. So, I'm sorry. I want to apologize.
I'm not forcing
Hold on
you.
1 second. I'm going to tell you something.
I'm not forcing you.
You're exactly right. I'm so sorry about that. I apologize. I'm so sorry. That was one of my biggest influences. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There was about 8 years of my life. I'm sorry that I did not want to play anything else than Rush.
Apology accepted.
I'm so sorry. That's true. That was a big one. It's called like brain farts. I was
He was his own niche, though. It's easy to kind of like separate him.
He's separated
because it wasn't traditional
he was
rock, right?
He was like this. He was a very smart guy, man. He just really. When I teach his parts, I'm so sorry again. Once again, I'm sorry that was blasphemy.
Well, timing changes. I mean,
how he staggered his parts. It was like so intelligent. It was like he'd play one measure and then have a kick, and then play the second measure. So the first, third, and fifth and seventh measure were the same. Okay, but they almost built the kick drum pattern was the same. But he'd do something special every time he got to that fifth measure. But that second, fourth, and sixth and eighth were identical. So he staggered me. It was really smart playing, and he just kept building. He just had a story. It was like he really told a story. It's like, what's his name? What's the guy? Joe Walsh is a guitar player. He never runs out of things to say. He blows my freaking mind.
I would agree.
He never runs out of things to say. It's just, dude, oh my gosh, this is like poetry in motion. Crazy. And I do love hearing his interviews because he's so crazy.
Oh, Walsh? Oh, yeah.
Did you see the thing on, not to shift gears on you, but did you see the thing?
I'm familiar with a couple of his interviews.
When they were talking about, they had that Eagles special, and he goes, Joe Walsh. This is whose guy just died? Glenn Fry. Joe Walsh. What can I say? He's the most interesting group of people I've ever met in my life.
I think he always had a slight chip on his shoulder. He'll never admit it, I don't think, but he was not the original.
Yeah, I was out with Don Felder on tour.
Interesting.
I was out with Don. That was the best band I've ever seen live.
No shit.
We were opening up. Six Gun Sally was opening up for Don Felder and 30. And
there's some talent there.
Oh, listen, Brian Tichy, who's like, I played for all the same bands he's played with. He was playing drums. I go, Brian. He's like, hey, what's up, man? And he was playing drums for him. And then who's I forget Paul's his name, the guitar player for who's the girl that's coming to town and makes fun about the tickets?
Taylor Swift.
He plays guitar for Taylor Swift. He was playing bass for Don Felder.
I believe it.
And dude, these guys were so good. I was like, what just happened here? And it was us, and then it was them, and it was what do you call it? Leonard Skinner, which was amazing. Right. And the 38 Special were on some of the dates as well. So, but yeah, man, blew my mind, dude. It was so incredible. And he's such a nice guy. I get some pictures. I'll show you them later.
Walsh is nuts. I remember coming home from my first job in my little Datsun, 2084 or something. I was in a rainstorm, and they were interviewing him on DV. He had an album out called The Confessor.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a very, I just love the record. And they were talking to him, and whoever the DJ was on DV was talking, and he said, well, we heard you like cars, Joe. Yeah, I like cars. What? I just got a new one. And they're like, well, what'd you get, Joe? I got a Chrysler.
Yeah, it's just like, weird, man.
I'll never forget hearing that. That. Okay.
Yeah, Hey, what was he on Daryl's house? He goes, he's like, I heard an interview with Beyonce saying she had 5 producers on her last single. And the last single, he's like, and there's only 6 effing words on it. And I was like, I get it,
Modern pop music, what are you going to do, man?
Funny, man.
I posted something today on Facebook that I saw this graph. It had all the years lined up, and it showed how many songs per year are in the top 100 pop songs that have, I think it's timing changes.
Oh, wow.
Signature changes. Timing changes, yeah. And like there is some in the 70s and in the 80s and
pop,
90s,
not so much,
and then all of a sudden, like it just flatlines in 2010.
That floor.
It just flatlines. Like somewhere in 2010, the public could not mentally handle it.
They couldn't. Yeah. Well, you dumb it down. You dumb it down, and you have to.
Yeah. Or else the formula is being pushed on these young artists too.
Yeah. And it's. I mean, listen. As a songwriter and being in the middle of writing songs for people that needed songs or needed hits, needed to have written hits for them. Man, it turned into like you'd write a song and you'd give it to the record company, and so here's it, or the publishing, and it'd pitch it to the artist. Now it's like everyone's got a friend. You got 6 people on one song.
Yeah.
There's no need for that. And just because someone wants to write like a conjunction, like and or but,
It gets by the time it gets
dissected. There's no money.
It gets fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So those are your top 5. Now you mentioned those are rock drummers. So I'm a modern jazz fan. So what other drummers you dig?
Okay, so like Vinnie Colaiuta is the best. Well, Grayson Neckerman.
I don't know that name,
dude. He is. I said you are the best drummer in the world. He's like 20 years old. He puts Buddy Rich's his solos up in the corner of his videos. Okay,
and his screen,
and plays the solo verbatim.
Wow.
He's one of the best. Wow. He is going to be the best. He is fabulous, and he's just the nicest kid ever.
Were guys like Gad on your Lenny Waite? Were they on your?
So Steve Gadd. Okay.
Erskine.
Here's it's Vinnie Colaiuta, Steve Gadd, Jeff Porcaro.
Okay.
Tony Williams.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and Bill Moses. So I love their playing. And Bill Moses, he was with Pat Metheny.
Yeah. Oh, I'm familiar.
And so yeah, man, Vinnie Colaiuta, he's been involved with some certain things like one of my oldest and best friends is Rick Beato.
Mm-hmm.
Rick's he played in bands with me.
Oh no shit! Yeah, I watch his channel pretty regularly.
Yeah, he's been one of my cheerleaders, man. He's been one of my people to just.
Yeah, he seems like a really good guy.
He's very smart. He's very intelligent. He's
hell of a guitar player.
And amazing. He's a cellist too. He's amazing. So he played in a band with me for a while, and then I worked with him and some other stuff, and we tried to put some bands together. He and I together. And by the time he just started producing bands, and then he brought me in to do some stuff, and then we produced some people together and wrote for. So he played in a band. Listen, this is a great story. So I was in a band called Seventh House that was signed to Atlantic Records, which is from here. The bass player from Seventh House was in the band with Rick Beato and Vinnie Colaiuta. Okay. And the band was called the Rick Beato Trio. That tells you how badass Rick Beato is. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, he is the man. Okay. And he is just a sweetheart. He's been, it's been since 1993. He and I've been, and he's just been helpful, man, with a lot of my stuff.
He's such a player. He's such a player.
Amazing player. His knowledge is so vast. It's far beyond most people. So,
do you what's your thoughts on Billy Cobham?
Love Billy Cobham. Yeah, I love him. And that's another guy. I'm sorry, you could probably put him. Love his playing.
Yeah, it was pretty mind-numbing to me too. I had in the 70s had a strange affinity for just like seeking out unique drummers as a kid. His Peart was so cool. I'm thinking, who else plays weird like this? And my uncle who played drums in Pittsburgh here, Terry Bates, he turned me on to some jazz guys, Lenny Waite and so forth. And I was like, that it makes you think differently about music.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they're doing these. Everything's. There's polyrhythms going on, and and their independence and dexterity are through the roof. That's a lost. I try to teach that with my students. I'm like, listen, we're going to break down the triplet, and we're going to do each.
Right.
We're going to play triplets with our feet, okay, and we're going to play rudiments over this, and we're going to dissect it, okay, and.
Do kids want to do that
and subdivide? Well, they have to because they're paying money. Do you want to be Do you want to be like if you're coming to pay for lessons? For me, I want to teach you the best I can.
Of course.
So I put my best foot forward. That's my passion. Kids are awesome. Kids and dogs.
They're like a sponge, right? I mean, if you expose them,
if you expose them to it and you make it fun for them and don't beat them over the head with it, it has lessened. It hasn't been their attention span is much shorter in the past 10 years.
Yeah, I can imagine with devices, right?
But
but devices games and phones. Do you think devices also have helped the learning process when it comes to music, instruments, and things?
As far as what?
Like, I think there's so many amazing guitarists running around there that are like 13 now because they've learned from YouTube.
Yeah.
Some of these kids.
Yes,
you think that's going on?
What's funny is I find it like that these guys, like some of these people are like they're not they're few and far in between. There's some monsters, but you remember you were never exposed. You would never know who these people were.
That's exactly right.
You would never know who they were, or 20 years ago. They had stayed in their basement. No one had done anything. They were able to take and someone knows how to work a phone and work with hashtags and blow it up, maybe become viral. And I'm still trying to learn that. I'm really horrible at that, by the way.
You're too old, brother.
Yeah, it's just not a thing. I'm kind of a dinosaur right now.
It's all mental.
So, but yeah, it is. I think that there's a lot of people that can play well back then, just stuck in their basement, and they become sound engineers or they become freaking engineers.
What did you love about Alex Van Halen's playing? Because he often doesn't come up as like a top 5 drummer.
I'm really surprised at that. I mean, dude, you know why? Let me tell you why. When you play in a band with your brother named Eddie Van Halen, guess what?
You're second fiddle.
You're second fiddle, man. And that dude, those dudes, the timing of like Sinner's Swing. I mean, they had something. There was something special between those two.
They were in each other's heads. Yeah,
they were really in each other's heads, and it was something. And dude, he was like a heavier version of John Bonham, and he was funky, man. He had a pocket, like he really had a pocket. I loved all the covers they did, like Dancing in the Street. There's a pocket there, dude.
Yeah.
And even though there's like weird stuff going in and out, I mean, he really had I think really kind of the double bass shuffle really was. He really made it popular. He took it over the top because you had Black Arkansas, Jim Dandy, and then you had. Boom, boom, out go the lights. Pat Travers and Tommy Aldridge was killing it on there.
Oh, God, dude. He's something,
He's still incredible. So that stuff was amazing.
Biggest mane of hair I ever saw in rock and roll.
What's that?
Biggest mane of hair I
ever
saw.
never seen so much hair for an 80-year-old. I mean, I'm like, this got to be fake. I asked Reb, I said, Reb, is that fake? He's like, hell no, man. But yeah, that hair is real, man. And so... But until Van Halen came out and they were on like Diver Down doing that stuff, and then and then Hot for Teacher, that was.
I thought that's where Alex really showed his
he really showed, and then you had Greg Bissonette, who's I studied with him.
Yeah, without a doubt.
He's a great dude, fabulous guy, man. I get to study with him.
Oh, no shit.
He came into the clinic. I get to like pick his brain. So he's a sweetheart. He's the one that really hit me to the Beatles. He said he went and did a whole clinic on Beatles, and he just started working with Ringo. Like
I'm just so surprised, man.
And I was like, wow, that is very cool. I never realized that. But then it was like, I don't know. Like I look at people like Tom Petty, he fired the wrong guy. That drummer was shit, dude. The drummer was awesome. Like, dude, he was so great. And you know what? I tuned my snare drum down. I play like Mick Fleetwood now. Yeah. And like that drummer, the dude from Tom Petty, I didn't even know his name. I should know his name.
I can't remember either.
I started tuning my snare drum, and I kind of got away from a lot of the guys that would do this. Boom, boom, boom. I was like, dude, I can't handle anymore. I wanted to play like. Jeff Porcaro and
so
Steve Gadd.
So does your tone mature as you mature? Like, does your tone mature as you mature?
Absolutely has. I kind of started using bigger drums. Okay. I was out and using thicker sticks. I was using like Peter Erskine sticks. Yeah. And I was out on tour with Alice Cooper, man, opening up. I was in my band Cinematic, and we were out for like a year with Alice. And Eric Singer was the drummer, and he's like, dude, you're a killer drummer, bro. He's like, but like. Dude, why are you using these small sticks? Get some bigger drums. You're pounding. You're using so much energy. So I was like, all right. So I bought 28-inch kick drum and 16-inch rack and an 18, 20-inch floor tom and just start using logs. But I didn't have to work as hard. Yeah. I could hit harder. Yeah. But it was like, and then I learned how to acclimate. I didn't have to, like, I just became a different drummer. And what really changed my style of drumming, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this guy. Yeah. Dave Grohl. Keller and Shape. Okay. Keller and Shape. As far as a studio drummer goes, he's one of my favorite studio drummers. Okay. That changed my drumming. In 1997, I heard Monkey Wrench and My Hero. And I was like, okay, I'm going to buy some bigger drums. And I was using these Yamaha recording customs 8 and 10 and bing, boom, boom, boom. I was like, it's like stupid. It sounds like a freaking pinball machine. And then I went back and I said, bought these big drums, but two 20-inch crashes, a 24-inch ride, and started playing like Tommy Lee. And I was like, that's where my heart is, man.
Yeah.
That's where my heart is.
Yeah.
That's what makes me. So I had to play like Neil Peart and like Stuart Copeland and Billy Cobham and learned all that, all that stuff. But then I was like, okay, this is where my heart is.
But you're a thumper, though.
I'm a thumper.
You're a thumper. Oh, yeah. I've watched your videos. You're definitely a thumper.
I'm a thumper, but but I'm not. That's not what I am, though. Everyone thinks I'm just a thumper.
Right.
And I can play straight ahead jazz.
Right on.
But it's just my heart is into when I hear, gah, gah, and I'm like, I'll buy it all day long, man. I'm like, I mean, that's me, man. Like, that
was Bonham, right?
Or like Tommy Lee,
Tommy Lee.
So like, when I was playing for Lynch Mob, and like even Paul Gilbert was like, I want a drummer who can play like, Taylor Hawkins meets Dave Weckl and John Bonham, and they're like, well, that's the guy to use. So they used me on that album, and it was kind of like. And
that's a hell of a compliment.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. And
Dave Weckl something.
Dave Weckl something. Dude, I got to tell you a story about driving him around out through the airport out here.
All right. Is this an off the air story?
This is funny. Dude, he was holding on to my dashboard like this. I was like, I may have been about 20 years old, and he was coming here for a clinic. And so when Dallas would have me pick up all their drum artists and pick them up because they loved me there. They were like this young drummer. I was so excited. I guess they felt like there was this.
Were they crazy? Were they crazy to send you to pick them up?
Yeah, it was like he was so. But he's like, slow down. I was like, I had like a 1991 Cavalier, I think.
That's funny as shit.
And I was thinking back in 1990.
Oh my God, that's hysterical.
And I'm flying. We're flying. I'm here with the Sabian because he just left Georgia with the Sabian. We're flying through, like, they were staying at the Marriott over here by the airport. He was like, dude, you almost killed us. I said, no, I'm okay, man. I said, listen, let me fix your hair, man. Like, you got really nice hair. He just laughed. He was so nice. But he was like, that was pretty funny because, I'm young, some young kid driving.
Yeah, for sure.
He was like flipping. Yeah, I am. Yeah, him.
Saw his life pass before his eyes.
Huh?
He saw his life pass before his eyes.
He's on the dashboard. They're laughing. Calm down. Yeah, he was. He's a guy that actually, he really wanted to be in a rock band.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was a guy that I spoke to. He's like, man, I just wish I could have been in a rock band. And it was like, and I was like, why? Like, you're like one of the best in the world.
He's
dude.
like so technically proficient. It's just nuts.
It's just too proficient. He's just, and like, listen, I told my one student, I said, you see that gong bass upper? Take that down. You look like you know what you're doing. I said, it's boom, crack, effing pay me. Boom, crack, effing pay me. And that's the game,
What about Bonham did you dig? Like any moments in that Zeppelin catalog that you just hear Bonham and go, wow, that is just something.
I love Houses of the Holy. I love that groove. Too. I love Wanton's song, that and I'm like, dude, he's like, it feels like he's pushing that the 16th notes. I mean, then there's like that whole half of a measure. It's just
there's some tempo changes in there that are like on the fly.
Dude, it's so amazing. Those guys still do sort of the devil. There's no way. There's never a cooler band than Led Zeppelin. No, actually, they're the best rock band. But the coolest rock band are the Faces.
Oh yeah, you're going way back now.
Faces, they were cool. They were just cool.
Yeah, they were cool.
They were cool. Ronnie Wood. Yeah, cool. Rod Stewart,
Ronnie Wood.
No
one has played more bum notes in the history of rock and roll than Ronnie Wood, and survived and made money.
Listen, I remember seeing him the one day. I was rehearsing at the Swing House Studios in Hollywood, and he's standing outside with Flea, okay, and there's a Lotus there.
There's a conversation.
This is weird. So I was playing with a band called the X's at the time.
Okay.
X's were on Motley Crue's label. And we were rehearsing and doing the farewell tour. And I come out, I see Ronnie Wood. I go, he has no shirt on, all tan. I said, dude, I just want to go pull his hair. I don't even know it's real. That can't be that. That's his real hair, man. I didn't pull it, but I'm saying. It was
like, call him Rooster, right? Wasn't his nickname Rooster or something? Like a little rooster.
Did he?
You know the story? Did you ever hear the story on how he became a Stone?
No.
So I guess Mick Taylor was leaving or whatever the arrangement was, and Rod Stewart went up to Jagger at some social function and says, Mick, whatever you do, don't take my guitarist. And Jagger goes, oh, Ron, yeah, I'll never take your guitarist. The next fucking day, he was gone. That's the story. Crazy. That's the story that Rod Stewart was telling people. Anyways,
like, it's funny. It's funny how things kind of go down. Like I remember. I don't know if I should say this. This might be. I think it's off camera. But when I was out on tour with Buckcherry, we were out together. We had the same booking agent, and my band was on Atlantic. They were on DreamWorks, and we were out with like Kid Rock, AC/DC, and we always were together for like a year. Mm-hmm. And I remember us coming towards an end, and we were out partying that night, and Keith and Josh were very clean. They met in like NA and stuff, I think.
Yeah.
So they didn't party, so we were out getting crazy, and we're on our bus, and this poor drummer, I think his name was Devin at the time. He was the original drummer. And I said, dude, and he's like 6'6", all tatted up. I'm 145 pounds. And they're shimmering like leather pants, like kiss boots, like stupid. Like thinking I'm like a tough guy. I'm like, dude, listen, I said, I'm gonna break your effing knees and I'm gonna take your gig. He's like, oh, okay. And dude, they called me next week to join the band.
Wow.
To come out and start working with them. Well, and it was weird because it's just weird, the power of words. And how you manifest them.
Sure.
Things manifest. You get what you can say. You can get sick.
What you think about and what you move to. Yeah.
And listen, I want to move to positive stuff. Just recently, we were just talking about this before the camera was on.
Yeah.
Man, I just pray to God every day. Like I'm thanking God for things. Like I want to be in the center of His perfect will. I want to be with the universe, goodness. I want to say good. I want to speak goodness into people.
Yeah, right on.
Well, then I didn't really speak goodness, but I did get that gig, and I was out on a plane working with Keith and Josh.
Yeah, I mean, rock and roll is like it's an industry. Because I think the public looks in on it as like this insane kaleidoscope of like a carnival, right? And I think it's because people romanticize what the 70s and 80s were like. But sometime in the 90s, it became a really, really big business. Yeah, and it just keep getting bigger and bigger. Where now, I mean, my outside view of working with Paul for those years on the guitar front and just getting a little glimpse of how that Kiss machine works, it was all business all the time.
Well, they were always business. They were so smart. They did things right. And, they left Bill, and that was the smartest thing because Bill was just out of control at the time. It is what happens. I think I have a picture of me and Paul somewhere in there. I think it's pretty funny. Anyway, we'll find it. But it is. Listen,
the public doesn't get that.
Matt Starr said something today on his daily podcast, his like little testimonial thing.
Yeah,
he was saying, and Matt plays for Ace Frehley. And Matt and I we talked countless times about stuff, and dude, like it's really important. Like, you don't have to practice anymore. It's about knowing the business. It's about being the right hang. Don't say this stuff. Don't do these things. Shut your mouth. Just be readily available. Be prepared. It's have your ducks in line. It's not about playing because a lot of these guys are not even on the level. Some of these guys, they're in basements,
But your best ability is availability.
Exactly. That's true. And you have to know when, know that you're here to set those people up to win, and it's not about you. It should never really be about you. Yeah. And we all lose that. We lose that.
Fame or any level of success will do that to you, right?
It'll do it to you in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You got to understand, it's never about you. It should be about serving the other person and serving the greater good. What's going to make this better? Shutting my mouth or opening my mouth? I'm going to come down to, like my pastor will say, I see a little flame going down there. I see an inferno. And I'm running down. I go down the hill I have a pail of water on the one side of the stick and a pail of gasoline. What am I going to dump on that on that little flame?
Yeah.
So do I want to extinguish it or inflame it? And
ego's a bitch.
Ego's a bitch. So you have to understand. I'm just learning. I'm better than that guy. That dude. No one wants to hear that shit.
Right.
That's bullcrap. It's not about that. You want to promote the other person. Like you have to do that. And you have to understand, push your ego aside and say, dude, it doesn't really matter because you're all in this together. It's about being able to receive it, harness it, and then release it. You know what I mean? Because those are the things. Your ego will tell you, I'm better than this person.
Why does it get worse though? Do you ever notice that really becomes an issue when bands get that super level, that next level? Then it really becomes.
Well, it becomes turmoil within the band members.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, the bigger the tour I was on, the nicer the bands were.
Interesting.
AC/DC, Alice Cooper, Aerosmith was a little weird. Kiss wasn't. Dude, those were not. They were very, very. That's all business. You got to be very careful with that. That's a big.
Was the band aloof on those tours?
Yeah, they were. And, it is what it is back because it's a lot. I mean, they did it all.
Yeah.
You don't want to hang out with us schmoes. I mean, you come back, say hello once in a while, but you got to. It's a big party, and it's not a big party.
No, that's the public misconception.
That's the misconception.
Yeah.
So when you learn it, you learn your place, and you learn to shut your mouth. Just being on a tour bus, and not talking and fighting with your girlfriend or your wife, or discussing stuff on the phone while people are just trying to relax.
Yep.
You text.
It's just respect, yeah.
It's respect. So you have to understand that.
And that's where I think rock and roll has changed. The operation of rock and roll has changed. Let me ask you this question, too. This is an interesting one. So I'd like to get your perception of this. What eventually got old with me after I'd gone to so many Kiss shows? Very grateful for the opportunity, but when you get backstage and you watch the stages be constructed, and you watch, I was very close to the late guitar tech Fran Stuber, who was Paul's tech.
He's passed away. I
Fran
saw
passed.
that. I knew you were friends with him. I knew.
But he gave me a weird and really cool look at how that works on the Paul side of the Kiss equation, because there's two camps there, the Gene and the Paul, right? So, but what I saw was a very unglossy version. I saw the stage rigging, that was all beat up, and I saw like the unvarnished look of a Kiss stage, right? And after a while, as a fan of the music, some of the magic is kind of gone.
It's gone.
Or very different, I'll say. Very
listen,
different.
I was trying to explain this to my ex-girlfriend about, we went to see Motley Crue, and I was on Crue Festa one year with one of the bands I was on, and trying to explain how hard it is sitting out and knowing what goes on behind the scenes, and the
luster.
It's just
off. Yeah.
I'm not impressed at all. They're all impressed. They're going to a stadium show,
of course,
and they can't hear crap. They're all excited. It's the hoopla of the party and what they know of the band. Like it kind of doesn't. It's like knowing there's no longer a Santa Claus.
That is exactly the best description. And by the year
2000, are you
2000,
calling me a genius?
Kinda. Now, don't
you want to go into garage
don't
do
get me
karate?
wrong. The first couple of years going out to those Kiss shows and getting first class treatment and getting all the ins out was great.
Yeah.
But after the third year, fourth year, fifth year, it was like, yeah, it's kind of I've seen
You start
it all.
learning this is a show. There's a pattern. There's a template. If you don't follow the template because it works.
Well, the magic wasn't there.
The magic there. So it's like there's no longer Santa Claus. Santa Claus is no longer real.
And the song sometimes can get ruined for you when you
Absolutely.
hear the live versions too much. I'll say, leave it at that, right? The
Yes,
live
and
version-
you find out like it's kind of calculated.
Yeah, it's very calculated.
It's
very calculated right now.
So when I'm saying this, I know when I write songs, I'm here to turn and burn. I write a 3.5 minute pop song, whether it's country rock or it's rock and roll or if it's pop.
Yeah.
So I know that there's a formula. I know I know that I have to do 8 measures to this. So it is. When people say I love that song, I'm like, well, it's like I can write that song. I know exactly what they did here. It's not that you're discounting what they did. You're just. There's no that magic is gone for me.
Yeah.
That is gone. So I know it's a job now, and that's horrible. I don't want to be that way, but when I try to explain to people what's going on, I got to write this song. Oh, you get to write a song for me. The word play is in.
It's still work.
It's still work.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's work. So they think it's all fun and games, but I have to produce. I have to make
deadlines
it happen.
and people making judgment on it. It's just like,
there's all this stuff. So
you
have to. So your ego has to be prepared, and you have to be thick-skinned, have rhino skins for something. I just don't like that. You're like, well, this is the best thing that we have so far. What do you have? So what do you have to compare? You can make it better. So that being said, sometimes then you got to know that someone might not like it, but they don't have anything to run with it. They don't. I just don't like it. Well, what do you have? It's better. Well, then we have to go with this. So you're under time restraints, things like that. So, like I said, it is a job, and there are templates, and the magic is gone when you really start learning. Yeah. When you get behind the scenes and you look, working with Gene Simmons for a show, I was like, I don't know, man. You're working with these people in the business, like, you see the shortcomings.
Yeah, for me it was still cool, and I would not trade in any of the opportunities, but I can remember being at my very last shows in 2013 before we quit working with Washburn and Paul. In the last couple of shows, it was kind of like, man, it's like I've heard. It's like when somebody loves a band, Matt, and they go to a show, they have anticipation. They go to that show, they experience the show, they got memories for a lifetime. If you take that same person and you show them that show 4 or 5 times in the period of a year, and then you give them a peek of what goes on back there on a regular basis, it's not the same. And with Kiss, you need that magical experience because it's theatrics.
Yeah. That's right? What it is. It's a spectacle of it, and you just kind of it's just what happens when you get back behind stage, when you are the writer for the band, mm-hmm. When you are the producer, and you know that it took that guy 3 hours to play those 4 notes for that first part of that solo. You're like, dude. And I was like, he's a god. You're like, he is a god. Yeah, that's okay.
He might have been at one time.
Yeah. Or he's not. It never was. You just have to know. You just got to know that. I don't want to take their Santa Claus from them.
It's the unvarnished version of rock and roll. And again, my view of it, I wasn't a musician. Like, I was in the business end of it on a very small way, but I got a nice little peek for a while into one of the biggest bands ever from a touring standpoint. That's
one of the biggest shows you ever.
And it was it was wonderful, but it was different. Like I'll never forget. I was in 2011. We were in Indiana, PA, or something. So they were doing like a Lost Cities tour, small venues, smaller venues. Mm. And Tommy Thayer was getting, he was a golfer, and I guess they were going to do him in makeup before the show and swing some golf clubs for this manufacturer, and flames were going to go up. So I'm standing there, and you see the rigging's all beat up, and I mean, it's like the public doesn't see it like that, but when you see how just worn out and stressed everything is. Yes. And those flame pots go up, and they did like 10 times in a row, and I'm standing there and like, wow, this is like insanity. Yeah. It's like, it was a little laborious.
Yeah.
The whole thing, the stopping, the starting, the waiting, the rehearsals. Yeah. I mean, you make rehearsals you've been in.
Listen, doing videos, shooting videos.
I can't even imagine. I can't imagine.
It's horrible. Photo shoots. I hate taking photos. I'm not really photogenic, so it's like I have to really work hard at it. So I hate having to go through photos, and I hate it. It's a lot of work. People think it's all fun, so it's like I have to do a lot of things that I don't like to do. I just wish I could go out and write songs and play drums for people. But then on the other hand, it's like now I'm just trying to zero in being focused about being a touring drummer again, because I got away from it. When I moved to Hollywood, I was like, I have to learn. I was teaching, I was producing people, I was playing like with all the famous musicians, Thursday nights that weren't touring. I was out with and then I'd have to go on tour. So I was doing everything. And I was like, and I kind of, you learn that you have to do these things. A lot of these guys can't do everything, so they have to rely on the touring.
In terms of when you're doing that, it's so different than someone having a 9-to-5 job where there's a pattern, you're always kind of looking for the next gig. You always kind of
That's
look your toes in the water, like, hey,
I'm
available.
You have to keep.
And that's a lifestyle that you either have, either that you're okay with, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah, and it's not for everyone. And I think it's when I kind of had a little. I'll say I'm kind of burned out after this. I got the call to play drums for Foreigner back in 2000. What was it? 13, the summer of 13, and their drummer was going back to American Idol. Really good drummer. He was going back and Jeff Pilson called George Lynch and said, "Hey man, do you know any young drummers that could kill this gig?" He goes, "Yeah, man, Matt. He just used him on some of these dates," and he called me saying, "You want to do these?" I said, "Foreigner, heck yeah." So, and I think at the time I was doing John Waite.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the time I just did the Lynch Mob thing, and then I was playing with Kristen Chenoweth. Remember, Kristen Chenoweth? Yeah. So I was doing all the big TV shows. We were doing Leno, Kimmel, Dancing with the Stars, whatever, right. Hollywood Access, and then she was hosting the American Country Awards. And so, I was like, my career was starting to do pretty well. And I thought, I'm going to get this gig with Foreigner. I'm going to get it. And he goes, learn the songs. We're going to fly you out into a city, and you're going to audition. If it goes well, just keep your backpack. We're going to rehearse for about a week straight, and you're going to be on the gigs. So I thought I had the gig. And he said, we were in touch for like a week and a half straight, and I didn't hear from him for a while. And I was like, what's going on here? And he's like, hey, man, I got to tell you something. We ended up taking a buddy of ours, and he was in Whitesnake, and he ended up taking Chris Frazier. And Chris is a great drummer. And I was like, and I kind of, I kind of snapped for a second. And in my apartment at the time, I was with my girlfriend, Cherish, was her stepdad, who's Johnny Lee's daughter, her stepdad, who was married to Charlene Tilton.
Yeah.
He took Lou Graham's place in Foreigner. So we're sitting in my apartment.
Wow.
Yeah. Dominic Allen was the singer for Foreigner. Sitting in my apartment. This is how weird everything's so connected.
Uh-huh.
And I get that. He's like, hey man, we're gonna take Chris. And I was like, and that was a life-changing gig. That was a $4,500 gig a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I kind of I had it. That's when I was like, I had enough of this. Because I was like, it was getting to, job was to get hired and fired because you don't know, I didn't know Paul Gilbert used a different drummer every tour or every album. I didn't know that. And I just thought maybe he didn't like me. And he's like, no, I use different drummers all the time. And you just don't know. People have that choice. And so the head game of it is just to keep yourself level-headed and have good people around you to keep you
and
focused. Stay
available.
Yeah, keep you not someone pulling you down and hurting you,
right?
And saying, "How come you can't?" I need your help. I need somebody here to support me because it's hard because it's an emotional train wreck, man. If you're not stable, you can turn and really lose your shit, man.
There's no question because it's almost feast or famine.
It is, and so that's. I never was broke, but I was always doing a ton of different things in music. But I really wanted to be the touring drummer, and I was kind of getting tired of being the drummer that was the third, fourth, fifth drummer that never saw any of the publishing. So I was like, I'm just a glorified roofer. I'm a plumber. I know what I am because I'm just going, making money and it's spending as it's going. There's no mail money coming in from publishing, so it was lessons to learn and learning how to be like.
And that's another misconception the public has too. They see anyone that's on that stage got to be a millionaire with a bunch of Lamborghinis.
Listen, John Mahoney, who's taking care of most of my day-to-day stuff now, who was a publicist for Ozzy and Raging Against the Machine. We were talking about going rates for drummers in national acts, and it was very enlightening. As of this morning, I'll be on the phone with him, and nothing has changed much. And so I'm like, well, maybe I should just stay here and play locally, because I make more, and because the fly-in dates, they're you fly in. So I think that I'll be out doing the next dates with Kingdom Come when they start in 2023. So I'll be out doing that, and I'll be doing like the metal festivals for those bands. So I'll be out and be getting my foot, back in the door that way. But as I'm doing, I'm doing it right now. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I'm a little scared, I'll be honest. But I know that You know,
Sounds like the industry's coming back.
It's going to be okay. We're going to be okay. I think that I have to just be focused on being that monster drummer that I am. I mean, I come out, I slam dunk it. I come out, I'm here to rip backboards down when I play for bands. I'm not here. I'm not built for little tiny clubs. I'm here. I swing for the fence.
You are not built for little tiny clubs.
No, I'm built for arenas and stadiums and theaters, man. So I'm ready to go, man, and I'm excited. I'm just going to stay humble and be thankful and just make it happen again. I'm excited.
Before you scoot, man, I have to ask you one question about heavy metal. Some people say metal is dead. Some people say metal is dying. What is your opinion of the state of the genre?
It's never going to die. There's already different genres. There's already different flavors. Ice cream's not going to die. You're going to always have vanilla and chocolate. You know, you're going to have that, but you're going to also. I think. Did Paul Stanley say this or Gene Simmons?
I think Gene said rock was dead, right?
Yeah. No. So I think. Rock is kind of weird. It is kind of dead, but I think the new metal bands coming out, there's always going to be that thing, you know. You know what keeps metal alive and rock and roll in the United States? The Midwest and the South.
Blues.
The blues, yeah, right. Yeah, Chup on a Massa. Thank God for you, man. You know. Thank you, Keith Nelson. You know, God bless you, man. These guys are just killing it. You know, Jared Nichols, right? You know, and those dudes are. The people in the Midwest, the United States, and the South, that kind of keeps rock and roll alive.
Rocklahoma, right?
Yeah, and the coast don't care. The coast are too cool. They want to go out and do with their MacBook Pros and have their lights show on a table. I'm not into that, dude. I want to catch it on fire and burn it down. You know, I want to take their lunch money. You know what I mean? I'm not here. I want to burn shit. I want to burn it up and light my gong on fire and throw my drum set.
So you still think it's healthy?
I think it's gonna be okay. I think it's as long as people, you know, are gonna as long as radio is still on. I think that people. I think it's important that we teach people. It's history. It's still history. It's still good.
Yeah.
You got to learn that AC/DC is still one of the best rock and roll bands ever. Okay, the Beatles are still, you know,
It's a timeless formula, man.
It's a timeless formula, and you know that it strikes a chord. You know, like whoa, dude. Yeah, I mean, so that's where you want to be. And I think that still tickles my fancy, bro. I mean, I still want to like shoot a gun after I hear that. You know what I mean? So I think there's all different genres of rock. I think when I hear the people doing rock that are and they have the triggered bass drums, and they're playing this hard, but they're like hummingbirds, and it's like, there's that. I can only hear like maybe 2 songs like that, but I appreciate it. The playing is great,
something different,
and you know. But then I'm working with a band now out of LA, man, and you know, it's doing pretty well. And they drive on a 1986 Monte Carlo down the Sunset Strip and have a PA, and they got it out the back, you know, Vella Lavella, they're called Vella Lavella, and they do hair band stuff, and they're young kids, they go to UCLA, and they stay on top of the car, they drive on Hollywood Boulevard, they get the drum set in the trunk, and they're playing, and a PA going, and they like Judas Priest and Motley Crue.
That sounds like an 80s stunt there.
Yeah, it's audio. It's a black, dirty old, like, got it out 86 Monte Carlo with gold pinstripes, nicotine stained seats, man. You know what I mean? They're coming out, they're rocking. They're like short hair dudes wearing like motorcycle jackets. So there's people that still are doing it.
Well, everything comes back around again.
It comes back around. There's just a different. It's like a plate of food. It's like
different
plates
flavor.
Now they have square plates. You know,
brother, did you have a good time?
I had a great time.
We're going to do this
for
again.
having me, man.
Well, I don't want you to wait another 3 years before you do it.
I'm coming back next year. I'm coming back in January.
Hey, I will hold you to that.
I'd love to.
Hey, there's 2 other.
I made a new friend.
There's 2 other drummers in this town that were excited that you were coming on here, and they want to do a trifecta show with you.
Really? Who?
Joe Marini.
Joe Marini. I love
him. And Nomad's drummer. Nomad's drummer.
Bobby Kunkel.
Bobby
my
Kunkel.
bro.
So
BK and Joe Monroe.
Yeah, so Marini and Kunkel want to get on this podcast with the 3 of us.
We need
4 of us. Would you do that?
Let's do that. I want to do that.
So are you going to be around in January?
Yes, let's do that. I would love to see. Those guys are. Bobby got me through some stuff for in the past 2 months.
Right on.
He really taught me through some stuff, man. He was He's been like a guardian angel.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
That'd be a hell of a show. I might have to I might have to actually tie
we'll
down
talk about
everything.
Rush. That's
tie
it.
down everything in the room.
I'm the one that's the most energetic. Those guys are real chill.
We're gonna do it, right? Bob moves around a little bit.
But he's great, man. Yeah.
Buddy, I appreciate it.
I love them both, man. They've been really good to me. So.
We'll do it again.
Awesome. Hey,
All right,
thanks
man.
again.
Thanks, man.
Bless you, man.
All right, brother. You betcha.
Hit us through, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we're gonna do it for Lee. Friends, we're out.